Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Hello and welcome everyone to a very special celebration of May the 4th here at Movies You Missed podcast. We decided to finally do a Star Wars episode because not only is it May the 4th, the Star Wars holiday, but it's also coming close to our 4-year anniversary here at Movies You Missed, and we thought that went together quite well, so welcome to our special Star Wars Takeover episode. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing pretty good. Super stoked for this Star Wars themed episode. I'm really surprised it took us 4 years to actually jump on this Star Wars thing.
Well, they're definitely not forgotten and they're not underrated. Well, my movie kind of is.
I think yours absolutely
kind of
more so than
forgotten.
mine.
I think it's more just forgotten.
Yeah, I think it is forgotten, and it's really unfortunate.
It's a travesty, actually.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully this episode will reignite people's memories about your pick this week.
I hope so too. So welcome everyone to Movies You Missed, the movie podcast where we love to recommend movies to you without spoiling them. Thank you so much for joining us. That's John, and I'm Vee. And not only do we love to recommend movies, we also love to tell you behind-the-scenes trivia about them, as well as our time behind the scenes in Hollywood. So strap in. We're going to make the Kessel Run pretty quickly here and dive into both these movies. John picked his favorite Star Wars movie, and so did I. So I'm really excited to hear not only what you think of our picks, but also what your favorites are. Definitely message us about that.
Yes, please do. And if any of them come after the 80s, you're dead to me.
Us. Dead to us.
Us, indeed, indeed.
The prequels are getting a resurgence in popularity, and I'm so disgusted by it.
Yeah. There's a few things I like about Attack of the Clones, but as a movie, I really don't like it very much. And I can't remember the last time I watched Revenge of the Sith. It's been so long.
The screenplays are just garbage. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
And then
Absolutely.
George Lucas's direction, especially between the two leads, is just laughable.
Yep, it is.
So we've cut off about a third of the Star Wars movies for you guys to guess which ones we picked. We definitely didn't pick the prequels. But before we do get into and tell you guys what our picks were for the week, we love to discuss the new movies we've seen in theaters or on streaming. And I believe John has had an opportunity to go back to the theaters now that he's feeling better.
Thank the cinematic gods, I sure did.
All right, John, tell everybody what you saw.
All right, I shall. I went to the movies for the first time in about a week and a half because I've been sick. I pulled a double feature on Sunday, and it felt so good to actually do a double feature, and hadn't done that in a while. So I will start with the movie that, V, I know you also saw. I went and saw Samara Weaving, Jason Segel, Timothy Olyphant, and Juliette Lewis in Over Your Dead Body.
I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It had me laughing pretty much from the get-go. The opening sequence where he's directing the commercial was great. Reminded me of being on set immensely. And everybody delivered pretty entertaining performances. I will say, though, they could have shaved about 15 minutes off of that movie and it would have been a masterpiece.
Yes.
It went on a little too long, and I think the shock value is starting to get a little tired.
Agreed.
But at the same time, it still was ridiculously outrageous and fun. On my way out, there was another guy walking out, and he looks at me and he goes, "That was crazy." I was like, "Man, that was outrageous." And I had a great time. I completely recommend that flick if you like ridiculously twisted relationship comedy.
I totally agree.
And then I went and saw the new horror flick starring Adam Scott called Hokum.
I've only heard a little bit about that film.
I did not hear anything about it. I think I must have walked in towards the end of a trailer several months ago because I don't remember seeing anything for it except for a couple of clips as I've scrolled through Facebook late at night. And I got to tell you, if you have seen the movie Oddity, which I watched, I think, a year or two ago when that one came out, that movie scared the hell out of me, and Hokum scared the hell out of me. I was very surprised with Hokum. It's not a perfect horror movie in any regard, but Adam Scott in a horror flick is awesome. I love when comedic actors can actually do a horror movie, and there were some solid scares. I actually got chills down my spine several times. Very, very good flick. Highly recommend Hokum.
I'm so glad. I'm a fan of Adam Scott, too.
I don't know how anybody can't be.
He's very talented.
He is. So that is what I saw over this last week in theaters, and nothing on streaming, which is pretty cool.
Well, I'm glad you got back to the theaters, too.
As am I.
All right, now that we've talked about the new movies we've seen, let's talk about our picks this week for our special Star Wars episode. However, this story in this universe is chronological, even though the movies weren't released chronologically.
That's for sure.
which is pretty fascinating if you think about it. No other movie series could have pulled that off, or has pulled it off.
I completely agree. Yeah, I never saw the Hobbit movies, but all I ever heard was how awful
those
they
movies. Yeah, they're garbage.
And so I never even bothered. But it's true. Even with Back to the Future, there's no prequel movies. There's no, and there isn't even any like prequel Jurassic Park movies, which is great. Like we don't need them.
I don't know, B.D. Wong and R.I.P. Richard Attenborough, a prequel about them building out that park originally would have been really cool. Or a prequel about Alan Grant and Ellie and cutting in that too, and that storyline about them getting together before they go to the island. I would have watched all that.
I imagine I would have too.
So instead we'll talk about Star Wars, and this is a special circumstance because this is all in universe. We are required to go in chronological order in this episode.
That we are.
Not by release date, but by storyline. So, because
Yes.
of that, I think I need to go first.
I believe that is true, so might as well start with your pick this week.
Okay, even though this is an odd episode and I usually go last, in order to tell our story chronologically, I need to go first.
You absolutely do.
I'm thrilled to tell you all about my pick this week. I think it's a deeply forgotten Star Wars movie, which is unfortunate because I will argue that this is one of the best sci-fi movies released in the 21st century so far.
You are absolutely correct.
This movie is magnificent. I think everybody should be talking about it more often, not just in the Star Wars universe. I am talking about the 2016 movie. It's a prequel to the originals, Rogue One. This movie centers on actions and events that happened directly before A New Hope, which was the original Star Wars movie starring Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford. And this movie stars, because it's in 2016, none of those people. Instead, it stars Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso. She starred in The Theory of Everything as Stephen Hawking's wife.
I still have not seen The Theory of Everything. It's been one of those movies that I want to see because I like Eddie Redmayne a lot.
I like Stephen Hawking.
And I like, science and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I have not gotten around to it.
Neither of us have been fans of biopics for a while. I think
that's true.
Bohemian Rhapsody just really turned me off from them for a long time.
Absolutely.
I know The Theory of Everything isn't a musical, but you guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
Felicity Jones also stars in The Basis of Sex as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, another biopic.
Another movie I wanted to see that I did not see.
Another biopic.
Yeah.
And most recently, she starred in The Brutalist.
She did, yes.
So she stars as Jyn Erso, the daughter, or the grown-up daughter, of Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen.
Hell yeah.
We're big fans of Mads on this show, especially me. He starred in the incredible TV show Hannibal.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He also stars in the movie Another Round, Doctor Strange.
I don't remember him in Doctor Strange at all.
He is the villain.
Oh, cool.
He's also the villain in Indiana Jones' Dial of Destiny.
That's right. Yeah, he is.
I first saw him in one of his first English language movies. He was yet another villain. In the James Bond movie Casino Royale, he plays Le Chiffre.
I don't recall that at all.
And then John and I watched a movie recently from 2025. John hated it. I loved it.
I didn't like it.
And it's called Dust Bunny.
It had such a cool cast, and the idea was there. I just did not land for me at all.
I loved the art direction so much in that film.
There was a lot of cool to it, just story-wise, and the way, I guess, the pacing of it or something. I don't recall. I really... We can move on.
We can. Our audience needs to let us know what they thought of it, though, because it's currently streaming on HBO. And Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen, works for the Empire as a scientist, or at least he used to. And the movie opens up with him and his wife and his young daughter on a farm in a gorgeous place.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they filmed in Iceland for those shots.
It looks very Icelandish, especially with Prometheus being shot in Iceland. That's
or
what
Oblivion.
I thought of. Yes, Oblivion, absolutely.
Yeah. And you can tell he's a moisture farmer because a lot of the machinery you will recognize from A New Hope, which is pretty cool. They brought that back.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he's been hiding out. Unfortunately, the Empire has found him. And Krennic, played by Ben Mendelsohn, who is just so cold-hearted. Ben Mendelsohn has been in a bunch of movies that I really like. Some of them are guilty pleasures of mine, including a Chris O'Donnell movie called Vertical Limit.
Wow. That's
terrible.
A deep cut. That's the Everest movie, isn't it?
It's like...
climbing?
Yes, it's a climbing movie. Yeah, whatever. He's also in another guilty pleasure of mine, Australia, starring Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman. It's not a good film. I don't care. I still enjoy it. Another guilty
I've
pleasure.
yet to see that one. That's a Baz Luhrmann movie.
It is. God, I'm confessing a lot this episode.
Yeah, you are.
But Ben Mendelsohn is also in The Darkest Hour, the one with Gary Oldman in it. He plays King George. And then he's also in another terrible movie that I will just admit is terrible. It's not a guilty pleasure of mine at all. He's in the Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx Robin Hood movie.
Cool.
And Ben Mendelsohn plays the Sheriff of Nottingham in it. So he's been around. He's a good character actor. He's always good at playing either just a cold-hearted bastard or a psychopath. He's a great villain.
Yeah. He is.
And
he was also recently, he was in Roof Man with Channing Tatum.
He is, yeah.
And he's also the bad executive owner of the other company that's trying to find the hidden secret in Ready Player One.
That's right, yes. Which I really like that movie, even though I
do too.
love the book so much more. Unfortunately, there were a lot of licensing issues, so the book has a lot more cultural references in it. Anyway.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, like I said, he's always good at playing the bad guy, right?
Yeah, he is, big time.
So Krennic comes along and threatens Mads Mikkelsen and says, you need to come back. I have a big project happening, and I need your expertise. I need your brilliance. And Mads is like, no, I can't. I'm retired. I don't want to work for the Empire, is what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And Krennic says, well, tough shit, you don't have a choice, and I'm going to threaten your family. And he says, well, that's fine because my family's dead. They're gone. Well, unfortunately, he's lying. He's been trying to hide them because he saw the Empire coming in their ships. The worst part is his wife sees this all going on, tries to escape with her daughter, and has second thoughts, which I disagree with this decision, truly. She tells her daughter, who looks like she's, 6 or 7?
7. Yeah, 7 years old.
Okay, keep going. You know how we practice this. Keep going. Sends her daughter off on her way, turns around, and tries to save her husband. And I'm like, girl, stay with your daughter. What are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
So she tries valiantly to save Mads Mikkelsen, and unfortunately, that doesn't work, and Krennic actually ends up killing her. Just like he threatened. And so Galen Erso, knowing that his daughter is now trying to escape on her own, realizes that he has no choice in order to protect her and keep the lie going that she didn't survive either, or he doesn't know where she is, etc. He goes with Krennic, and that's what happens. Fast forward 15 years or so, and now Jyn Erso is grown up, played by Felicity Jones. And originally she was rescued by a guy named Saw Gerrera, which is a great name, played by Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker, you all recognize from The Last King of Scotland. He became very famous from that role. He was great in Panic Room, the Jodie Foster movie.
Ooh, that movie's awesome.
It David really Fincher. Is. I need to pick that movie, or you do. It's great. It's very underrated.
One of us do. It is a good flick.
I always thought that and Hostage would be a great pairing for an episode.
I'll take Hostage if you want Panic Room.
Or vice versa. Either way, I'd be happy.
I'll take
I think
Hostage
both of us
if you want
would
Panic
be really
Room.
happy. That's fine. I'm in love with Jodie Foster.
I haven't really done a Bruce Willis movie. You've done a few. I mean, I did Armageddon, but I think that's it.
I did Die Hard, and I did The Whole Nine Yards. That's true. Okay.
All right, so I'm due for a Willis movie.
Apparently. Anyway, so Forrest Whitaker he plays Saw Gerrera, a big rebel leader. He's also very crazy, very extreme.
A little bit.
So he takes Jyn for a little while, but apparently with this fast forward in time, she's not with him anymore, and it seems like she's kind of on the run. She's also in a Empire prison. Nobody knows who she is, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is that something big has happened in this 15 years. Not only has Galen Erso been a project manager and the head engineer on apparently this massive, important, secretive Empire project, but he's also tried to get a message out. He befriends an Empire pilot named Bodhi, played by Riz Ahmed, and he's great in this role. It's one of the few roles of his that you love.
Riz Ahmed is awesome. Yeah, I am a big fan of him in this movie. I always forget that he's in this movie until he shows up.
Me too. Every time.
Because I think we'll talk about it in a minute.
Riz Ahmed, he's playing a very frantic pilot who's defected from the Empire named Bodhi. And he actually tries to get to Saw Gerrera. But Saw Gerrera, being the crazy man he is, doesn't really believe him, thinks it's a trap, and starts torturing him. And he's like, no, I swear, Galen Erso sent me. He said you guys were friends. And that makes Saw Gerrera stop. And so what happens is Saw Gerrera then goes looking for Jyn Erso and gets her broken out of prison by a man named Captain Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna. I always get Andor and Endor mixed up.
You know what's funny? I finally put it together this time.
That they're different?
Yes, I remember Endor, and then watching it this time around, I was like, Andor, and then I know that there's an Andor series with Diego Luna in the show, and I was like, oh, Andor. That has to be the same thing, but clearly is not. I have not watched any of the Star Wars shows after the 3rd episode of The Mandalorian, so I don't know anything about the shows.
Oh, you are so missing out because they're better than almost all other Star Wars IP ever released. The shows are incredible. I started off with the Clone Wars, which are animated. Those are great.
Oh.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Mandalorian, Andor, starring Diego Luna because it's about Captain Cassian Andor.
Right.
The other thing we're talking about, Endor, starts with an E, and that's the Return of the Jedi planet where all the Ewoks live.
Yeah. The only one I really wanted to watch was Obi-Wan, but I still have not watched it.
Oh, Hayden Christensen being back is incredible. Highly recommend.
Oh.
They're
I didn't even know he was back.
Fantastic shows. Definitely give all of those Star Wars shows a watch on Disney+. Definitely worth it.
Yeah. Maybe one of these days I will.
So now that we have Diego Luna on the scene as Captain Cassian Andor, and Andor is a rebel leader, and so he rescues Jyn Erso and says, hey, we have a message from your father. You need to hear it. And so now his mission is to get Jyn Erso back to Saw Gerrera so she can meet Bodhi the pilot and get this message. And what this message is about and what it contains is what Galen Erso has been working on for the last 15 plus years. And what that turns out to be is the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a prequel to Star Wars A New Hope. He tells his daughter that he had to do it. He was forced to because they threatened her life, that they would search the entire galaxy for her if he didn't work for them. And so he pretended to play along and pretended to be loyal to the Empire. But what was really happening is he was designing a fatal flaw in the Death Star.
Hell yeah.
And right about then is when Krennic decides to attack their planet.
Yep.
And that's what happens. So Jyn and Andor end up escaping that planet with Bodhi, and now what they need to do is go to an Empire base on a different planet and steal the blueprints of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully also find her father. And so for the rest of the movie, these three heroes, along with their droid, K2SO...
Yeah, of course, there's another droid.
Of course, there's one of my all-time favorite droids after BB-8.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I've never really been a huge fan of R2 or C-3PO.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
BB-8's my favorite. K2SO is my second favorite. He's voiced by Alan Tudyk. Alan did motion capture work for this movie. We've talked about Alan a lot because we are both big fans of his. He was in my pick of Tucker and Dale versus Evil, the horror comedy. Yeah. He was in your pick of A Knight's Tale.
Yep.
He's also Steve the Pirate in Dodgeball. A phenomenally talented voice actor. Big fan of Alan Tudyk, and he plays K2SO, who is just really deadpan and pretty sassy.
Just a little bit.
He gets introduced by busting through some doors and says, "Congratulations, you are being rescued." After taking Jyn Erso down, which is great. And he has a lot of wonderful one-liners in this movie that bring a lot of levity, which I appreciate. So, and now these three plus their droid are working with the Resistance to find the plans of the Death Star, find the fatal flaw, hopefully find her dad, Galen Erso, and get everything back to the Resistance. So we can have Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's just a great cast of characters. The cinematography is gorgeous in this movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
The CGI holds up so incredibly well, even though it's 10 years old. There's a moment when they're in space and a Star Destroyer comes out of the shadows.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, it's one of the coolest scenes. This movie is also still very relevant because there's a couple of scenes where they're on planets and stormtroopers are walking around neighborhoods, harassing residents, asking them for papers and proof of their identity.
Oh, yeah, that happens in Jeddah City.
Mm-hmm. There's also an appearance of an iconic character that are the most badass scenes of this character in the entire Star Wars franchise, I think. These characters also get a lot of help along the way, including from Chirrut, played by Donnie Yen, who is an incredible martial arts master. I've loved this movie ever since I saw it in theaters. I think it's so underrated. People don't talk about it when they talk about Star Wars, and they should. I think it's up there with some fantastic sci-fi movies of the 21st century that we've already talked about. And oh yeah. God, the last 50 minutes of this movie, I tear up or cry like 4 different times.
Yeah,
because it's so compelling, because it's so emotionally tense, and because you really care for all of these characters. And so I'm thrilled to bring it to the podcast and talk about it with you all and remind you that this movie exists. And I'm really looking forward and excited to hear what John thinks about it and some of his favorite parts, because I know how much he loves it too.
Yeah, let's get into my absolute love for this movie. I took Amy to see it when it came out. We went to the ArcLight and saw it opening weekend. I was surprised that Amy actually wanted to see it because she's not the biggest Star Wars fan. And when we first started dating, I went through the entirety of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi with her in the car one time when we were on the 101 freeway because Amy had never seen a Star Wars movie.
Oh, I was like, you watched it in a car? What the hell? You were talking to her about it.
No,
Got it. You summarized it for her.
I summarized the whole thing for her. And that was when she actually was still visiting me before she moved in. And then I think about a month and a half later, I woke up to a package outside my door, and it was the original Star Wars VHS tapes sitting outside my door sent to me from Amy. So that was and Interstellar were like the first two movies that she ever bought me. And that was pretty much when I knew.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that was the moment that you fell in love.
And I actually spent a good 2 days reaching out to people. I'm like, did you send me this? I'd never thought that Amy would send it to me because we were still early on in our relationship. Anyway, we watched all three of those, and Amy liked them. She didn't love them, but she was like, yeah, I can understand why you like them so much. And it's funny because so many people don't think of me as a sci-fi fan. And I am a sci-fi fan. I grew up watching Star Trek Next Generation. I grew up watching the Star Wars movies and the Star Trek movies.
I don't think of you as a sci-fi fan. That's how
I know. It's really strange. And a lot of people still don't. A lot of friends of mine are like, wait, do you like sci-fi? I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? Anyway, so Rogue One comes out. Remember seeing the trailer. Amy is living with me at this point. We go down to the ArcLight down on Sunset Boulevard because we were living just up the street on Argyle. Amy liked the movie quite a bit. I lost my entire fucking mind when this movie ended. There are moments in the final 3 minutes where I thought I was going to break her fingers because I was squeezing her hand so damn hard. And we're sitting at the ArcLight, packed theater, and I could feel the guy next to me being like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And it's leading up to literally the final word of dialogue in Rogue One that just obliterated me completely. And the way that Gareth Edwards put this movie together leading up to a beginning of A New Hope is nothing short of master class. It is so incredible. So I've watched this movie now since 2016, I want to say at least 8 times. I don't own this on physical, but every time I watch it, I pull it up on Amazon and I look at the price and I almost buy it. It's still $30 on 4K. It's worth every damn penny. I just have not pulled the trigger on ordering it yet. This just needs to be in my collection. It's just so damn good. The music's incredible. The cast is outstanding. I will say, though, Diego Luna is my least favorite in the movie.
He's the flattest character.
He is. Yeah,
he's a little one-dimensional, it's true. And I don't know if it's the way he was written because he has more limited dialogue compared to Felicity Jones, or it's just the way he tried to play the character. But the nice thing is Felicity Jones is electric in this movie. She is worlds better than the character of Rey in the new Star Wars movies.
Oh, that is for sure.
And so anyone hesitant of like, oh, well, they don't have the original characters, I'm not going to love him as much. You will love
you got to get
Jyn
that out
Erso.
of your mind.
Yeah, Jyn Erso
you got to get that out of your thought process.
You care, you follow her along to the ends of the earth. Oh, yeah, she is absolutely the star of this film, and you will be grateful for it.
Absolutely. I love Mads Mikkelsen in this movie for the limited amount of time he's in it. Forrest Whitaker, fantastic. Riz Ahmed, like we just said, it's one of the few roles that I actually do enjoy him in. And not only does it hold up as just a great movie, but like you said, the visual effects are ridiculous. And when they're on Scarif towards the final hour of the movie, the beaches and the shots above the Scarif planet when they're all trying to get into the force field and the way that they open the force field and it's just so insane and it's so action-packed literally from the beginning all the way up until the final moment. And when Governor Tarkin tells Krennic that they need to test out the weapon and they destroy Jeddah City, that is, while devastating, absolutely stunning to watch. There are moments, and I will never forget this, watching Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, the whole title, because I like the long
Apologies.
titles.
That's right.
It's all good. It's all good. I turned to my wife at one point, well, she was my girlfriend at the time, but I turned to Amy, and I said, how the fuck is this guy still alive from A New Hope? And I was talking about Governor Tarkin.
Yes.
The
Skeletor from A New Hope.
Yes. What they did was bonkers, mind-boggling. I had brain matter on the back of my seat because I was like, there's no way this guy's still alive.
Right.
And I went home and I went to IMDb and I'm like, well, okay, he's clearly not alive. He's a visual CGI character in the movie, but it's so convincing, especially when you see his reflections in the windows.
Yeah.
It's like, what the how is this happening?
And
Absolutely
this was
magnificent.
10 years ago.
Yeah,
That's what's
2016.
boggling.
It is. Yeah, I and even watching it this last week, I was just like, I will never forget thinking that this guy was still alive, and he was already like 80 years old when A New Hope came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is this guy
Like
120 years old?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, he's moving beautifully, he's fluid, he's looking great. Now, Rogue One, Star Wars story is the best Star Wars movie next to the original trilogy. And like you said, you cry in the last hour. I absolutely just get completely emotionally invested, so much so that this last time, right when the credits rolled, I round of applauded. I grabbed King Lou and I was like, that was so fucking good! And I was wiping tears off of my face. I think this was one of the first times I've watched Rogue One in at least 3, maybe 4 years. It is always a wonderful revisit because it's just such a damn good movie. And Gareth Edwards put it together so fantastically. The writers, Chris Weitz, who wrote American Pie, is a writer on this movie.
Yes.
Unbelievable. And so good. And the crazy thing is, I knew it was going to be decent because Gareth Edwards gave us the resurgence of Godzilla with the first Monarch movie.
He did.
And then he gives us this. And then he gives us The Creator. The Creator, visually stunning, not a great movie.
No.
Visually incredible. Rogue One is visually incredible and a great movie. It's everything that I wanted in a Star Wars movie, and I'm so glad you brought it to the podcast. Can't wait to hear some of the BTS because I've never watched any of it. I, again, don't own a physical copy yet, so let's get into it. Yeah, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, 2 massive thumbs up. Will always be one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about the writers because I think that is one of the most important elements of this film. Like you said, visually it's stunning. Yeah, the daytime battle scenes and air battle scenes on that island are so incredible, and the way they hold up still blows me away. When I was watching it this week on my big screen, I was like, holy shit, this is good.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine it looked great on your TV.
Yeah, and so let's start off with the writers. There were several, of course, also massive rewrites, which is why even if you watch the trailer of this movie, none of the scenes are in the movie because they did such massive reshoots.
Really?
Yes, and John Knoll, who was the first one who kind of started developing this story, even though he's not a full credited screenwriter on this film, when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, John Knoll heard about some of the early concepts of new Star Wars movies that were making the rounds. He was not impressed with any of them. Neither were we, don't worry.
Right.
But he actually started developing this idea. He was an employee of Industrial Light and Magic, Lucas's original company, and he actually refined the story down to a 30-minute pitch. People at ILM loved it so much that he was encouraged to bring it up to Kathleen Kennedy, the new president of Lucasfilm, and she loved the pitch, so the movie was put into production.
Nice.
And it is so well done how this movie and this storyline fit so seamlessly before A New Hope. And when I started watching the movie, first with the trailer, and then I watched the film in theaters, as we've discussed, how the hell are they going to make this work? And they do it so well. I'm so impressed that they were able to insert this storyline in an already created IP. So one of the best prequel storylines I've ever seen in terms of the way they put it into a universe.
Fully agree.
Some of the writers. Chris Weitz, as you said, was a writer in American Pie. Some of the other things he wrote, though. Ants, About a Boy, the live-action Cinderella movie that you picked a couple months ago.
That's right. Yeah.
The Mountain Between Us with Idris Elba and Kate Winslet. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's actually pretty good. It's a survival movie.
I've heard good things about that one, too, yeah.
And he also wrote The Creator. And then Tony Gilroy.
Hey.
So he's really well known in the industry. So is his family. I'll tell you more about all of them in just a second. But he was paid $5 million for 12 weeks worth of work on the script.
Wow.
Especially the third act. So you know what? He deserved every goddamn penny.
Yeah, he did.
Tony Gilroy is a screenwriter. His very first screenplay was called The Cutting Edge. It's one of my picks in the future for a rom-com.
Oh.
Wonderful 90s rom-com. introduced all of you in the future. And then
Great.
he adapted Dolores Claiborne, The Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
He adapted Armageddon. He also adapted all 3 Bourne Identity movies.
Damn.
He wrote and directed Michael Clayton, starring George Clooney.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
And he also is the creator and writer of the Andor series.
Oh,
his brother
very cool.
is also a writer, Dan Gilroy, who wrote Nightcrawler, Kong Skull
Yes.
Island, their other brother, John Gilroy.
Yeah.
Once Tony started rewriting the script, he said, "Hey, by the way, my brother John's a great editor. You should probably hire him." And they said, "Okay." And they hired him as the editor for this movie. So John Gilroy is an editor. He has edited Billy Madison, Narc, your previous pick.
Oh, nice.
Miracle, the hockey movie starring Kurt Russell. Michael Clayton, Salt, Warrior, Pacific Rim, one of my previous picks.
Hey.
Nightcrawler, Suicide Squad, and the Andor series. So all 3 brothers are now working on the Andor series. And their father was a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright. So they're all very talented. So that's the Gilroy family.
Awesome. Good for all of them.
Yeah. And Greg Fraser was the director of photography on this film. We talked about how beautiful the shots are and just the entire setup of this movie. He was also the DP on Snow White and the Huntsman, Zero Dark 30, Foxcatcher, Lion, gorgeous film.
Oh, yeah, Lion.
Dune 1 and 2.
Hey.
The Creator, The Batman, and most recently, Project Hail Mary.
Nice.
And because it's a Star Wars movie, there's a lot of amazing trivia about the film. First and foremost, that it is a $200 million movie.
Wow.
Probably the most expensive movie I've talked about so far on this podcast.
Yeah, I would say so. And that makes sense, $200 million. I mean, they had to go to a faraway galaxy to get to Jeddah and all these other planets.
Also known as the Maldives.
Oh, sweet.
But
the Christopher Nolan effect where they go into space.
On a $200 million budget, this movie made $534 million in the U.S.
Wow.
And for the first time ever for one of my picks, over $1 billion worldwide.
Makes sense.
$1.058 billion, which is great. It did really well, so I don't understand why we don't talk about this movie. And it's an incredible film.
It's so strange. Because I know when it came out, people were like, that was badass. And then it just was like,
dropped off.
Goodbye.
I guess it just didn't really have as much of a pop culture impact, unfortunately. But this is the first Star Wars movie that doesn't have the scrolling text crawl in the beginning. It just opens.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
I think a lot of people were still running off the high of Force Awakens because Force Awakens arguably is the better of the 3 J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson movies.
Sucks. I mean, it's still a
not
C movie.
Great. Yeah, but it's,
and you know what? Yeah, you're right, because Rogue One was buried within the 3 post-quills, whatever you call them.
Post-quills, yeah. And it was
sequels,
buried in Disney trying to... Disney
ass.
Really going
This
crazy.
Sucks so bad. Because, yeah, you're right. Force Awakens was released in 2015, which means this was right after, and it just got buried within the dialogue of how much everybody hated the 3 new Disney Star Wars movies. That makes sense. That's such a bummer. Bad timing.
Big time.
But because this is a prequel, Gareth Edwards, the director, instructed the art department to only use elements that would have been available in 1977 to get the movie to look the same as Star Wars A New Hope. So the flight control animations, all of the visuals on their computers that look very dated, it's because it needs to go right along with A New Hope, which was brilliant.
Sure. And that was always George Lucas's thing about Star Wars. Like, it's a distant galaxy, and not everything is going to be perfect sci-fi. It's got to look like it's run down, shitty stuff.
Well, it's also a long time ago. I mean, that's what they say in the text. That's
away.
what they say in the text crawl. You guys got to read.
Yeah.
Which is also why Saw Gerrera's friends can be seen playing an analog version of the game that appears in A New Hope when they say "Let the Wookiee win."
Yeah.
And that's animated in like holograms in A New Hope, but in this movie they're actually like action figures that they're playing with, but it's all the same characters, which is great. So yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs for the original Star Wars in this movie, which I always thought was a lot of fun. And Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen, is actually modeled after Oppenheimer.
No shit.
Because both men share the same guilt of becoming an agent of death for building a weapon of mass destruction.
Wow, that's really cool. So yeah,
now we can totally see
death.
it. Now that we've made that connection, right? Or been given that connection, and he becomes death.
Destroyer of worlds. Yeah. Wow. Wild.
Right? Which is why when the film was shipped to theaters, it was under the name Los Alamos.
Very cool.
And speaking of Easter eggs, R2-D2 and 3PO have a brief cameo, making them the only characters to appear in every single Star Wars movie.
That's pretty sweet.
And as I mentioned about Donnie Yen being in a Jet Li movie, Jet Li was actually the first one approached to play Chiru.
Oh, that's cool.
However, Jet Li asked for $10 million.
Whoa.
Donnie Yen only asked for 4, so they went with Donnie Yen.
Yeah, makes sense.
And
So Jet Li would not have been one with the Force.
Donnie Yen was great in that role as Chiru. He plays actually a blind man and improvises the line, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind," at one point in the movie. These actors did such a good job getting you to care about these characters.
Absolutely.
You really get emotionally invested in this movie. And Tarkin, as you said, was digitally altered, and there was motion capture for him because it leads into Star Wars A New Hope, where Peter Cushing actually plays Tarkin. But the character for Rogue One was played by a man named Guy Henry with a CGI replica put on over his face. Superimposed on him. And the interesting thing is that Guy Henry previously played young Sherlock Holmes during the 80s, using Peter Cushing's role in Sherlock Holmes in the 60s as his model. So he had already been modeling that man for a different character 40 years ago. And then they hired him to play Tarkin in this movie, which I thought was such a cool connection. He's like, oh yeah, I love Peter Cushing. I can definitely model after him again.
Hell yeah, that's badass.
But no copy existed of the Death Star blueprints. None of the data was available, even though it's seen on a screen in Star Wars A New Hope. So the visual effects team had to redraw the entire animation frame by frame by watching Star Wars A New Hope.
Whoa.
Which, if I got paid to watch the Star Wars movie, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Not at all. Hell no.
And you talked about Jeddah. There's some really wonderful visual effects for building that planet as well, including these incredibly large statues that are laid over on their sides. Very reminiscent of a couple of shots in Lord of the Rings, actually.
Definitely. And
those are actually Jedi, and at one point you can see a lightsaber within them. So keep an eye for a lot of the world building in this movie. It's very well done. There's a lot of details that went into it. And another Easter egg is when Jin and Cassian are walking through the streets of Jeddah, and they bump into two guys, and one of the men says, "Hey, you just watch yourself." And those are the two guys that our main characters in Star Wars A New Hope encounter in the bar, where Obi-Wan Kenobi actually cuts off one of his arms.
Yep. He doesn't like you.
I don't
like you.
And unfortunately, Alexander Desplat's original score was rejected because of the extensive reshoots, and it was completely counter to the new tone and storyline that they came up with through the reshoots.
Damn.
So instead, Michael Giacchino was hired to be the composer and redo all of it. And we've talked about Michael a lot because he did Super 8, Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, the new Star Trek movies, incredible score.
Nice.
The score of Alias, The Incredibles, Lost, Up, Inside Out, Coco, the new Spider-Man movies, Society of the Snow, and the newest Batman. He's a great composer.
Damn, hell yeah.
Yeah, and he only had 1 month to write the score.
Yikes. Damn.
And the last piece of trivia I want to share about this movie is that Dermot Mulrooney, the actor from My Best Friend's Wedding, plays the cello in the orchestra.
Very cool.
He even performs a solo.
Oh, wow, that's badass.
Pun intended. And that is Rogue One, a Star Wars movie that came out in 2016. It is currently streaming on Disney+. I think it's one of the best Star Wars movie and the best sci-fi movies of the 21st century. It is definitely in my top 10 of sci-fi movies from the 21st century. Highly recommend this masterpiece. Even if you're not a huge fan of Star Wars, I still think you'll like the movie. It's easy to get into. You don't need to know the entire Star Wars story in order to follow it either, which I think is a very important point for us to make. And so that is my pick for May the 4th, our Star Wars episode. I'm so glad you love this movie too.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm massive fan. Loved rewatching it. Loved hearing about all this info about the movie.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I think that means that it is time for you to continue the story from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. What do you say?
I'm in.
All right, take it away.
All right, let's do it. Let's go back to the year 1980, 36 years previous to the release of your pick this week.
That's true, which is mine was released 10 years ago, so
Yeah,
Your
so
movie.
this is now 46 years ago.
Oh, God.
For this also masterpiece, in my personal and humble opinion. The original Star Wars trilogy begins with A New Hope, and then continues on with The Empire Strikes Back, and finishes with Return of the Jedi. I am choosing the film that is the sequel to the original trilogy. This is Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This film stars Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels, Frank Oz, and Alec Guinness, in a very small role, but a very important role as well. This film, oh boy, everybody knows that this is the best Star Wars movie. Now, V, your pick of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, is the best prequel Star Wars movie. So we're talking about two of the best Star Wars movies for this May the 4th Be With You episode here at Movies You Miss Podcast.
Agreed. And I actually think my pick is the second best Star Wars movie ever made.
Oh, yeah, I would agree, because my
Fabulous.
pick this week is the best Star Wars movie ever made.
Agreed.
Perfect. There
Glad
we
we're
go.
on the same
Look at
page.
that. We agree on something in...
Wow.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of the writing credits, directing credits of this movie, because as we know, well, maybe you don't know. I don't know. For those of you that are much younger than V and I, I've been watching this movie since, I want to say, at least 1988. So I've been watching this movie literally my entire life.
I actually didn't see this movie till a bit later, and I'll tell you guys about that in a minute.
Yeah, looking forward to that story. George Lucas wrote a treatment for the sequel to A New Hope, and it was a very long treatment, and he came up with everything that we see on screen. However, he didn't write a lot of the dialogue, so he hired Lawrence Kasdan and Lee Brackett to really finalize the script and get it to where he couldn't feel that he could bring it. He also enlisted Irvin Kershner to direct this movie. And Irvin Kershner is a 90s director. He directed On Deadly Ground, Never Say Never Again, RoboCop 2, and a whole bunch of other shit. Sequest 2032. I never did see that movie.
Hell yeah, that was a great show.
Oh, sweet. Oh, it was a TV show. Okay, see, there you go. I didn't know anything about it.
The guy from Jaws is in it, the sheriff.
Oh, Roy Scheider.
Yes.
Nice, sweet. Well, maybe one day I'll check it out. But maybe not as a TV show.
I mean, you're a
people know
sci-fi
me in
fan.
TV shows. I am a sci-fi fan.
Just news
So
to
George
everyone,
Lucas-
including me.
Yep. I don't know why people don't think I'm a sci-fi fan.
Because all the sci-fi you talk about, or a lot of the sci-fi you talk about, is sci-fi horror, and so we think it's just an extension of your horror love.
I guess that's true. But again, as a kid, Jurassic Park, Independence Day, Star Wars, Star Trek, that's all science fiction. Stargate, that's science fiction.
Yeah, but Jurassic Park, there's a lot of arguments for it being sci-fi horror since so many people die.
That's true. Yeah, and it is still pretty scary
it's
stuff.
technically a creature feature, Jurassic Park
It is a creature feature. Yes, indeed.
Anyway.
So George Lucas enlists Irvin Kershner to direct this movie, and Irvin Kershner, I watched this really awesome 30-minute documentary on Disney Plus after finishing Empire Strikes Back, and listening to Irvin Kershner talk is hilarious because he sounds exactly like Ray Romano, and he has a lot of funny shit to say about the making of Empire Strikes Back. And what's really cool is I never really have watched any of the BTS on any Star Wars movie in my life. There wasn't any real reason for that. I just never had any of the DVDs. I always had the VHSs. And in the VHSs, there were always interviews with George Lucas before the movie started. And he is so boring to listen to talk. Similar to Peter Jackson, which I found very heartbreaking because when I went and saw Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, the 4.5-hour cut last, a couple months ago, there's a 20-minute interview with Peter Jackson, and he is a snooze fest to listen to talk.
I'm so happy to hear, and it makes sense now, that George Lucas hired someone to write the actual screenplay. Apparently, back then, he was a little more self-aware because...
A little bit, yeah.
The 3 prequel movies that he wrote in the late 90s, he wrote the screenplays, and that's why they're so god-awful.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible.
I've also read a book of his, the sequel to Willow, that he wrote with a friend, and the prose sucks so bad. and he's like Zack Snyder. They're good idea men, but then hand off your idea to someone who is a good screenwriter.
Right. Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot. So let's get into the breakdown of Empire Strikes Back. For those of you that have not seen it, I don't know where you've been the last 46 years, but Empire Strikes Back takes place not immediately, but shortly after the events of A New Hope. And I'm not going to give anything away about A New Hope because we don't spoil anything, even movies that we're not even talking about. Now, Empire Strikes Back begins with Luke Skywalker and the Rebellion having taken sanctuary on an ice planet called Hoth. And the Empire is searching for the leaders of the rebellion, which are Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker, on top of all the generals and every single X-Wing fighter pilot that they can find. And on this planet Hoth, Luke Skywalker is out on his Tauntaun doing a little bit of patrol, and a meteorite hits near their base. So Luke calls in to Han Solo, says, hey, there's a meteor. I'm going to go check it out, see what's going on. Unfortunately, Luke Skywalker does not make it back. Luke Skywalker gets taken hostage by a Wampa, which is a Hoth Yeti-type creature.
Yes, it is an abominable snowman. That is true.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Hoth being the ice planet. Things are getting a little hairy weather-wise, and the people back at base are telling Han Solo and Princess Leia that they need to close the doors. The weather's getting bad, and they'll have to find Luke Skywalker in the morning. However, Han Solo is not about this. He takes a Tauntaun out and goes to look for Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker manages to escape the Wampa, and in his travels from the Wampa cave back to base, he starts to freeze to death and actually gets visited by Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Alec Guinness. Obi-Wan tells him, you need to go to the Dagobah system and start training with Master Yoda, and that's all I'm going to tell you. And he leaves. Pretty much. That's it.
It's like
So Luke is on his deathbed, basically, in the snow, and being like, Ben! And then here comes Han Solo on his Tauntaun to save the day. Well, at least save Luke Skywalker in this moment of need.
It's like the visual of Pappy O'Houlihan from Dodgeball. Where it's like,
absolutely.
He tells him something important, and he goes, bye-bye.
Yeah. So true. And a cool thing about actually all the Alec Guinness scenes in this movie, there's only a few of them, but apparently he shot all of his stuff in one day, and he was there at 7 a.m. and wrapped by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ugh, ideal working conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I miss days like that in general. I wish I could do that as a bartender.
And that Wampa, he is not as cool as the abominable snowman that we meet in Monsters, Inc. That's all I could think of when watching those scenes. Welcome to the Himalayas!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Wampa is a little scary, and he's definitely a flesh eater because he's eating Luke Skywalker's Tauntaun.
Yeah,
it's a pretty bloody moment.
It's brutal.
Yeah. So after Luke Skywalker is rescued by Han Solo, which actually is one of the funniest moments in the movie, not necessarily because he's being rescued, but the Tauntaun unfortunately dies because of the freezing cold. And Han Solo's like, I got to get you warm, Luke. We got to keep you alive. And he cuts the Tauntaun open, and he says this.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
So now Luke Skywalker and Han Solo are back at the base of the rebellion, and the meteorite that Luke Skywalker saw hit was actually an Empire probe looking for the rebellion on this planet. And, of course, now the Empire is on the surface of Hoth, and a massive kick-ass battle happens with the AT-ATs. And, of course, this leads to the rebellion now taking refuge back in space. While the rebellion is taking refuge back in space, Luke Skywalker decides that he's going to split from Princess Leia and Han Solo and go to the Dagobah system and find this Yoda character that Ben Kenobi has told him about, and hopefully learn to become a Jedi. And Luke gets to the Dagobah system, which is a really crazy-ass little planet, and he crash lands on the Dagobah system, and now his X-Wing has been submerged in this lake on this planet in the Dagobah system. So he and R2 are trying to figure out where they might be able to find this creature Yoda, and this little green guy shows up out of nowhere, and here we are introduced to Yoda, one of Star Wars' greatest characters, played by the fantastic Frank Oz, who is also Miss Piggy in The Muppets. And what's really cool about Frank Oz being cast as Yoda was they really tried to push to get Frank Oz a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the Oscars that year for playing Yoda and for being a puppeteer of Yoda. It didn't end up happening, and Frank Oz apparently really didn't give a shit too much about it because that's not why he decided to do the movie. Yoda starts to tell Luke Skywalker that he really needs to kind of just chill the fuck out because Luke is very high-strung. He's high-strung and very headstrong. He really wants to be a member of the Force. He wants to be a Jedi. He wants to take down the Empire because all he's ever heard is that his father was killed by Darth Vader. So now Yoda is pushing back on Luke a little bit, saying, you really got to calm down. if you have all this hate in your heart towards the Empire, it's not going to be the mindset that you really want to have when you're going into this battle, because hate leads to suffering. Yoda starts to talk to Ben Kenobi at one point and saying that he's too headstrong. He won't listen. He's very impatient about this. And, of course, Luke is trying to fight back and be like, I'm not impatient. I can do this. Ben, tell him I'm going to be the next great Jedi. And finally, one thing leads to another where Yoda accepts Luke under his wing and starts to train him on how to use the Force the correct way, how to channel the Force in the way that the Jedi Masters have been able to channel the Force and use it against the Empire, not just in a violent way, but as in a mindset as well. Amongst all this going on, Han Solo is trying to evade a bounty hunter named Boba Fett because Jabba the Hutt is still out for him, which we learn in the first movie a little bit about, and that story continues on into Empire Strikes Back as well as into Return of the Jedi, and Princess Leia is still trying to figure out a way to also take down the Empire because she is one of the leaders of the rebellion. And for the rest of the movie, we are along for the ride while Luke is training with Yoda, and Han Solo and Princess Leia are still fighting the Empire along with Han Solo trying to evade Boba Fett and Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is also trying to get Luke to join the dark side, which is, of course, one of the major plot points of the entirety of the original Star Wars movies. So, not only for the rest of the movie is that all happening, but we get introduced to some great characters, especially Lando Calrissian in the City in the Clouds, and who also ends up being a friend of Han Solo's. And they touch there was a Han Solo movie, and I gotta be honest with you, I don't remember much of it. And I remember Donald Glover was Calrissian, and that was cool. I just didn't really like the Han Solo movie very much.
I didn't either. I thought it was completely miscast because the lead character had no charisma. He had negative riz, honestly. And you have to replace, you're trying to replace Harrison Ford.
Harrison frickin' Ford. Yeah, it's
Work
a tough
harder,
one.
right?
Very, very, yeah, absolutely.
Entirely forgettable movie.
Absolutely, yeah, completely. Anyway, like I was saying, for the rest of the movie, all this is happening. We're introduced to Lando Calrissian, and we are along for the ride to see if Luke can actually channel the Force and fight the Empire in a way that makes sense for him to potentially become a Jedi Master. I'll never forget the first time I saw this movie. I definitely saw it after A New Hope. I've been watching these movies, I'm not even lying, since at least 1988. And Return of the Jedi comes out and is such an awesome, kick-ass fucking movie as well, which we might do in the future. I don't know. I would love to talk about Return of the Jedi in the future. I've been watching these movies since I was a kid, and my biggest memory of seeing The Empire Strikes Back was the day that I was told I was going to have my second open heart surgery at UCLA. I was so distraught and scared and terrified out of my mind about having an open heart surgery that I was going to be conscious of, because my first one, I was a baby. I don't remember any of it. And my parents said, what do you want to do? What do you think will make you happy? And I was like, The Empire Strikes Back just came out in theaters. Can we go see it today? And it was playing at one of the theaters in Westwood. And my parents took me to see it. And that was before it was revamped with new CGI scenes and all this other shit, which unfortunately is included in the Disney Plus version. But I still have the original 3 VHS tapes that I do go back to because nothing beats the original, and I know George Lucas was all about adding stuff that he wanted to put in there originally that he couldn't because of money, yada yada. The OG cut of Empire Strikes Back is a masterful sequel, one of the best sequels ever made, and I absolutely love this movie, and I'm super excited to get into it BTS-wise. But V, let's hear your experience with Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back.
One of the things I love about Star Wars is the world building. There are all these different planets that are so distinctive, and most of them have awesome battle sequences on them. And opening up on Hoth, which is a planet we absolutely haven't seen anything like before in the Star Wars universe, and then having that massive battle on. Luke obviously has aged a lot and matured a lot in this second movie, which is why I like him a lot more, and he's a lot more tolerable in this movie. However, I still wrote in my notes, Luke Skywalker, whiny bitch.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
And because we were on a Star Wars kick and I started off with watching Rogue One, I just kept going with the series and ended up watching A New Hope, then The Empire Strikes Back, then Return of the Jedi over the last
Hell
week.
yeah.
I hadn't watched the original 3 in a very long time. It was great to revisit all 3. Loved revisiting Empire Strikes Back, of course, because it's incredible. Like you said, one of the best sequels ever made in the history of cinema. Absolutely accurate statement. And of course, we get introduced to Yoda. How can you not love it? And God, seeing him again after the CGI version of him in the prequels.
Oh, yeah, I know. And so many people are so happy that Yoda's going to battle in the lightsaber.
No. No,
dumb.
Puppet Yoda is worlds better. No competition whatsoever between Puppet Yoda and CGI Yoda. And actually, the cool story about my original viewings of the original Star Wars movies is that my little brother was really into them growing up, but I would always just see little scenes in passing. I'd actually never sat down to watch them. I always thought the first scene of A New Hope when the droids are going through Tatooine and it's just an open desert, I'm like, God, this looks boring, and I'd walk away. So I never actually watched them. And then in the late 90s, when they were being revamped and the special editions were being released by George Lucas, like you said, with those new scenes and with new CGI, my father actually said to me, hey, let's go to the movies. We're bringing Alex and we're going to watch Star Wars. You're coming with us. And so I watched A New Hope in theaters for the very first time ever and was so in, because I was a teenager at that point, love sci-fi. And so I go home and I'm like, sweet, let's pull out those VHSs with Darth Vader on the cover and I'm going to watch them. And he goes, no. You're going to wait until Empire is released in theaters and I will take you, and your first experience of Star Wars will continue to be in the theaters. And he did that for all 3 movies.
Hell yeah, Dad.
Incredible. I am so appreciative that he did that for me. And because back in the day, we didn't have nice big TVs or surround sound, obviously. So yes, my original experience of Star Wars is in the theaters, and that's true for every Star Wars movie now ever made.
Awesome. Because,
of course, then we went and watched the prequels when they came out, because that was the whole thing. They were hyping up Star Wars for everyone, so the prequels would actually get a bunch of people going and buying tickets. And so, yes, Empire was amazing. It was a total bummer having to wait until the next ones were released because they were kind of cliffhangers. They end nicely, but you want the story to continue. You want to see what happens, and so you're eager for Return of the Jedi, as everyone was. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually a fan of the new scenes. I think a lot of them add to the storyline, especially the Wampa in the beginning, because in the original you never see him because they said the puppet didn't really work, and so they edited all of it out. You only really see the hand, and it just didn't add to the scariness. And then in the new one, you see this giant creature eating a raw tauntaun, and you're like, oh shit, that is scary. I actually think the funniest parts of the movie are when they're back at base and Leia and Han are getting in fights and she calls him a scruffy looking nerf herder.
Yeah.
Laugh it up,
scruffy looking
fuzzball.
Every time.
One of the reasons why I love Empire as much as I do is because my favorite trope for romance is enemies to lovers.
Oh, okay.
And so I am completely on board with the love story in this movie, even though there is a Eurotrip moment in this movie, which we won't spoil, but for those of you who've seen Eurotrip, you know what we're talking about.
Yep.
And it's always nice to see Julian Glover playing a Nazi. He was a Nazi in Indiana Jones. He's a space Nazi in Star Wars.
Yes, he is.
And of course, there is a very famous quote from this movie that gets misquoted all of the time, and I will not talk about it, but we all know what it is. And the other thing about Empire that I've always remembered is that The Simpsons do a great job talking about Empire, because there's a flashback where Homer and Marge go to the movies back when it was originally released in 1980, and they're walking out and there's a huge line of people waiting to go in. And Homer turns to Marge and spoils the movie.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, hey, what the hell? And it's because, yes, there is a huge reveal in Empire. It was a big deal when it came out. We don't spoil movies, so we're not going to talk about it. But be prepared for that as well. And the last thing I want to talk about for Empire, because of course I have to, anyone who knows me and has listened to more than 5 minutes of this podcast know that I have to talk about Harrison Ford.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
In love with that man. I have been since I saw the original Indiana Jones back when I was very young. And so it's a young Harrison Ford in Empire, and it's just so fun to watch. I love this movie. It's wildly entertaining. The script is still good. It's not campy. It's not cheesy.
Nope.
It holds up well. The action sequences hold up well too. The crazy thing is it doesn't feel like a 46-year-old movie.
Not at all.
They did such a good job, and we talk about this a lot, but it's so important. The practicality of their miniatures, the way they did the visual effects, help this movie hold up as well as it has. And I'm just so grateful for this universe, even though you and I have talked about we're a little bit bigger fans of the Star Trek universe.
Mm-hmm.
Still huge fans of Star Wars. Love this universe, love the characters. I'm always going to be open to new entries as well.
Sure.
That's why I was so open to watching these series that are now on Disney Plus, despite the new movies sucking so hard.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
And I absolutely want to give a shout out to my brother-in-law, Henry, who is a die-hard, deep Star Wars fan. Definitely am grateful that I've been able to geek out with him about Star Wars over the last few years. So thank you so much for picking Empire. Great choice.
I'm glad you feel that way. I'll never forget the reveal. When I was a kid, I like just jaw to the ground. I looked over at my dad and I was like, wait. And he goes, uh-huh.
That's what I said too. I turned to my dad and I go, wait. What?
Yeah, it was so insane. And I've been watching this movie. I've been watching this movie since 1988, which we're coming up on now almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still one of those moments where I look forward to it. And when it happens and the reaction of the actor that gets the bombshell is just...
He's great.
Because that's like, it's so, it's just so great. So we won't talk about that anymore, but yeah, good. I'm glad you like it. It's certainly a great movie to discuss. And like I was saying earlier, when I was in the car with Amy when we first started dating, I was breaking down Star Wars for her. I wanted to tell her the reveal, but I couldn't because it was like, well, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to tell you what the fuck is going on. And I just remember sitting there going down the 101. It's like, oh, yeah, because the rebellion's all trying to get the Empire and the dark side's there, and the dark side's trying to get to the Jedis, and the Jedis are all part of the rebellion, and then the Empire comes in, and then the resistance. Blah, blah, blah. And I remember looking over at Amy, and she just had these, she wasn't like bug-eyed, but she was like, wow, you know this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I love it. It's amazing. And it's funny that you say we're more Star Trek people than Star Wars. I think I'm about equal, honestly, because I will rewatch all the TGN movies and then I'll watch these almost immediately after and just be like I'm a kid again. And that's why I love these movies, especially Star Wars and Star Trek, because the Next Generation movies, I was a kid when they came out. They make me feel like a kid again, and the nostalgia is just all there.
Absolutely.
And I know so many people, like my buddy Sean. He listens to the podcast. I don't know how often anymore, but he's got the Millennium Falcon tattooed on one of his back calves.
Awesome.
And he's a massive Star Wars fan. He just had a kid. And he's getting his kid into Star Wars, and every couple of weeks, he's like, "Oh, kid wants to watch Star Wars, so we watch Star Wars." So they're either watching New Hope or Empire or Return of the Jedi. Yeah, and I think even the shows too, and especially the animated series, because I think he's like 2.5 now. But anyway, Star Wars, great stuff. Irvin Kershner killed it, and Return of the Jedi, we definitely have to do that, and A New Hope. So maybe one of these next episodes, maybe the next May the 4th, we'll do New Hope and Return of the Jedi. Why not?
That could be fun. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Could.
And, the big production companies, especially Disney, are now insisting on remaking movies. In the next 10 years, I would be completely comfortable if they had different directors, not Rian Johnson, obviously. But if they had some fresh blood in there in the next 10 years and remade the prequels, I would love for them to remake the prequels and make them better with actual chemistry and good dialogue within them.
Yeah, I could be on board with that big time.
And no Jar Jar Binks.
No Jar Jar Binks, that's for sure. It's funny, when that movie came out, it was 1999, so I was 14, and I thought Jar Jar Binks was cool and hilarious, and then I watched it, I think 5 or some odd years later, I was like, this is one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen.
Well, the blatant racial stereotypes was something I noticed right away when I watched it in 99. I was
that
like,
was a big thing too.
This makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, Jar Jar was something else.
Well, and
but
the
cool.
Trade Federation guys. Remember? They were horrible racial stereotypes, too.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into some BTS of Empire Strikes Back. This one actually kind of blew my mind. I didn't know this, But George Lucas financed Empire Strikes Back completely on his own. He bankrolled $30 million of the production on his own. He ended up using a lot of his profits from A New Hope, and he got a bank loan. And of course, the bank was a little weary about it, but hey, Empire Strikes Back was a massive success, and he was able to make all his money back. And to show his gratitude to almost everybody on the set, he awarded majority of the crew a total of $5 million in bonuses.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's a scene in this movie where Mark Hamill has to bang his head in Yoda's house. Apparently, Irvin Kershner had him do that 16 different times before he was actually satisfied with that. Yeah,
it's
that's
just
a little bit much.
Head bump. That's ridiculous. That's like Kubrick level of perfectionism.
Exactly. Yeah, right?
Maybe Mark Hamill had pissed him off for some reason.
It's possible, yeah. Well, apparently Mark Hamill had a little bit of trouble during the Dagobah scenes with Yoda, and Frank Oz caught on to that pretty early on. So in between takes of Yoda, he would pull out Miss Piggy to actually help Mark Hamill kind of calm down a little bit.
Oh, but I understand having anxiety on those scenes because Dagobah has given me the creeps since I was a kid. It's a
Dagobah
dark,
is
swampy,
very
claustrophobic area.
Lots of snakes, too.
Not a fan.
I like snakes.
I mean, I love snakes too, but I'm not a fan of Dagobah.
Oh, gotcha. Harrison Ford was ready to be finished with the Star Wars universe in the middle of shooting this movie.
Notoriously
he was so finished. Yeah, he was so ready and to be finished with this movie that he pitched the idea of killing Han Solo off. Well, George Lucas had a different idea, and if you've seen the movie, I think you can pick up on what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he lobbied to be killed off forever. Oh, he's always lobbied to
for
be
a long
killed
time. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You'd think he would enjoy making movies for all the amounts of movies that he's been in.
And money. But
And the
God,
money.
I love every time that Harrison Ford gets interviewed, he has such deadpan humor and he does not give a single shit.
No, he couldn't care less.
I love it so much.
Frank Oz was not George Lucas's original choice to play Yoda. He actually approached Jim Henson to do it, and Jim Henson was too busy with The Great Muppet Caper and recommended Frank Oz, and that's how Frank Oz became Yoda.
Aw, and then Frank Oz went on to do lots of other amazing things, including puppetry. And then didn't he direct Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
He absolutely did. He did.
I knew it was a pick of yours. I was trying to remember which one.
Yeah, that was a past pick of mine. Very recent. Well, a couple months ago now.
Yeah.
It's
probably
great movie.
like 18 months ago. We're not remembering
it
right.
feels like it was a lot less time ago, but you're probably right. George Lucas, when he was writing the story and treatment for this movie, he had Yoda's mannerisms of speech, how we kind of hear it in the movie, but it was done on paper a completely different way than how it's portrayed in the movie. And Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas had to sit down and really talk about how Yoda was going to talk. And if you notice, Yoda kind of talks backwards, but not all the time. And in the early draft of the script, George Lucas had Yoda talking backwards the entire time.
Ooh.
And it was super confusing for everybody that was reading this early treatment. So he and Lawrence Kasdan sat down and were like, how can we really make this something that is understandable to the audience and that would make sense for an alien?
Well, that's really brilliant, too, because he's such a pop culture icon now. I mean, people talk like Yoda to make jokes, and there are memes about it, and so it was a really good compromise from both of them.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, Irvin Kershner, when he and George Lucas met to discuss him possibly directing this movie, they were having lunch on the Universal lot, and George Lucas was explaining the whole world of Empire Strikes Back to Irvin Kershner. And Irvin was very much not really about doing a big special effects drawn movie. He was really more interested in the dramatic characterizations of characters and dialogue more so than action sequences. And George Lucas was able to win him over with a couple of pages of his early treatment and talking to him about the movie that would be following Empire Strikes Back, which was Return of the Jedi, which Lawrence Kasdan ended up directing.
Another reason why the sequels to the original Star Wars floundered so much is because they used different people on every one. They didn't have a cohesive vision or storyline for all three.
No, exactly. Star Wars Empire Strikes Back was released on June 18th of 1980. The budget was $18 million. Well, that was estimated. But like I said, George Lucas financed most of it for $30 million of his own money on top of a bank loan. And opening weekend in the U.S. and Canada brought in $4.9 million. Gross U.S. and Canada, $292.7 million. Gross worldwide, $550 million. Now, I feel like this gross worldwide is after subsequent re-releases. Still, very successful sequel. And we are big fans of it. And if you have not seen it, currently streaming on Disney Plus, highly recommend starting with Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, then going to A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and leaving it there. And
Yes.
not watching any of the other 6 movies.
Strong agree, and I can tell you that $30 million in 1980 is equivalent to $120 million today.
Look at that. Fantastic.
So it did actually have
Good
a big
stuff.
budget. We just wouldn't
Yeah.
think of it because when you said 18 and $30 million, it seems so small now.
It does, yeah, it does. So that is Empire Strikes Back. Like I said, Disney Plus, check it out. Loved revisiting both of these movies. Can't wait to discuss what we're doing next week.
Yes, me too. And also to say that Princess Leia is now officially a Disney princess.
Hell yeah.
Do you know what's weird, though, is that Disney Plus does not recommend these movies to you in order. I finished watching Rogue One,
weird.
and it recommended Empire Strikes Back. I was like, no, I need to watch A New Hope first. And then I watched A New Hope, and it recommended another Star Wars movie, Phantom Menace. It was something random. I'm like, what are
weird.
you doing? Recommend
Yeah,
in
fuck
order.
that.
What is wrong with you? That algorithm was totally screwed up at the time. So anyway, yes, you can watch all of this IP on Disney Plus. We both definitely recommend you staying away from the prequels and the sequels and instead focus on some of the series because those are great. And John, would you watch The Empire Strikes Back with your grandma?
Oh, gosh, I don't know how many times I
Right?
watched it with
Yeah.
my grandmother. All
Yeah.
3 of them. I'm not even fucking around so many times.
Yeah.
And V, would you watch Rogue One, A Star Wars Story with your grandma?
I would. I really want to introduce it to my nieces, actually. I think it's a great movie for young girls especially, but also
Oh, yeah.
just young kids in general. I mean, this universe is great for young kids. There are wonderful messages and morals and mottos within these stories, and so highly recommend Star Wars to just about anybody from any walk of life. We're big fans.
Definitely.
And yes, John, you're right. We are both looking forward to next week's episode because it is another special episode. It is that time of year again for our Mother's Day episode.
Hell yeah.
Which means our mothers picked these movies. John, do you want to tell everybody what your mom picked?
Yes, I do. My mom picked a great movie that actually my mother introduced me to. I think actually both of my parents introduced me to this one. I have been a fan of it ever since. This might blow our audience's mind, but this is a Will Ferrell-led movie.
Yes, it does actually blow my mind. I know how much you usually hate him.
I don't hate him. I just don't like his comedy, truthfully. That's really what it is. Certain movies I do like of his, and this is one of them. So like I said, starring Will Ferrell, this movie also stars Emma Thompson, Dustin Hoffman, Tony Hale, and Maggie Gyllenhaal. This movie is written by Zach Helm, directed by Mark Foster. This film is titled Stranger Than Fiction.
A movie I've never seen.
Sweet. Looking forward to introducing you to it. If you care to follow along as an audience, you can check it out on Prime Video or Peacock. I will watch my DVD copy.
Fabulous.
Yes. And V, what did your mom choose?
My mother picked a Val Kilmer movie from 1992 called Thunderheart.
All right.
Val Kilmer plays an FBI agent, and that's all I'm going to tell you about it.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
Good. Unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere, so you will have to rent it, but I do think it's worth the money.
Sounds good. I will rent it.
So those are the movies that we are going to cover for our Mother's Day episode next week. Please make sure to tune into that. And thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We hope you had just as much fun diving into the Star Wars universe as we did today. Might be something we do again in the future on a May the 4th. So tune in for that in the next couple of years. And until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast, to our social media. Reach out to us and let us know what your favorite Star Wars film is. If any of you say A Phantom Menace or Solo, we're going to have a longer conversation.
That's true.
And you all know we love to close out with film is a form of art, and in art, every opinion is valid. Except if you think...
The Last Jedi is a good movie.
Or any of the prequels, or the best Star Wars movies, or...
You need a lobotomy if that's your thought process.
There are so many great Star Wars opinions that we could have stated, actually.
It's true.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next week, bye-bye.
May the Force be with you.